Yeah, it's 94, and it's only 1 o'clock. So it's been 100 degrees for a couple weeks now. I saw the Saguro cactuses or cacti are collapsing and laying on the ground. That's just too much. It's too much.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. I would collapse and lay on the ground.
Yeah. Don't expect me to stand up.
Welcome to Connections with BCD Travel, an ongoing conversation about the modern-day travel program, the impact of technology and digitization, and how travel buyers can take control and drive change. Each episode leaves you with practical, actionable advice and solutions to support a variety of program needs. Let's start connecting.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Miriam Moskovich.
And I'm Chad Lemon. If you're enjoying the Connections podcast, we ask you to please leave us a review wherever you're listening to today's episode.
On today's episode, we're talking about BCD Invite, one of our newest technology offerings, and how it can be a game changer for travel managers.
That's right, Miriam. And today's guest is one of my favorite people to talk to at BCD. She's Hannah Kahn, Senior Director of Product Planning. Hannah, welcome to Connections. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Chad. Hey, Miriam. Glad to be on the podcast today. My name is Hannah Kahn. I work in the product planning department, and I have responsibilities for product marketing, customer feedback, the UI design, so different things that all kind of tie how we communicate and how we engage with travelers.
Hannah, BCD Invite is a prime example of what can happen when travel programs tell us what their pain points are. And I know you're really excited about this launch. So let's talk about it. So, Hannah, I want to start this episode off candidly. We have just launched a new product, and we're going to spend this whole podcast just talking about this product and what it's going to do for customers and what travel programs can expect from it, right? So you are on this team that's just launched this product, and you're here to tell us about that, right?
Yeah, we're proud to officially announce and launch BCD Invite, which is our tool to help travel programs and make unprofiled guest travel simple.
Okay, so the first question has to be, what is BCD Invite?
It's a great question. BCD Invite is our tool that we developed to help facilitate unprofiled travelers. If you don't have a profile in the travel industry, you really can't make a booking, and there is a need to make that a simpler yet safe and secure process.
Can you tell us how BCD Invite was born? What was the need and why was it developed?
Yeah, so over time, we start to see more and more of our clients have the need for guest travel and the ability to get people that aren't their full-time employees from one place to another. It really started exploding during the pandemic when more and more people were either working for themselves or they were taking on multiple roles. And so if you don't have a profile, you can't get into a booking system, and you don't have a profile if you're not a full-time employee. So there's all kinds of workarounds to make that, to work within the tools that we have today and make that happen. But it's definitely workarounds, and it's not a very satisfactory way to make a booking. So what we saw was that there's definitely a way to make this better if you can create a profile that's temporary and it works within our platforms. And we're happy. We have great guest experiences within our current booking tools, so we didn't think that's where we should start. We thought we should start with the profile itself.
And almost any travel program has got unprofiled travelers, right? Maybe new hires, right? Contractors, speakers at events, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, contractors, project managers, outsourced employees, healthcare professionals, everybody works within those groups. And basically HR is kind of making workarounds and ways to facilitate those bookings. But we looked at and said we could do this with a profile. So our tool creates temporary profiles within our system, so they're still safe and secure. And then we had a way to use those within our own platforms.
And Hannah, I know you just touched on this a little bit, but can you go into a little bit more detail about why it was important to help solve for unprofiled travelers?
So everybody has unprofiled travelers, like we just said, and it's a big part of your travel spend. It's a big part of your resources. Nobody likes it, right? Everybody wants to focus on why they're moving the traveler to wherever they're trying to get them. And if you have recruits or you have consultants, the travel isn't the part you want to focus on. That's the terrible part. And so this is something that not only is it not secure and safe, but it's really laborious. And the benefit isn't there. So this is an area where people just kind of thought, we have to suffer with this. And, for a long time, all focus was on full-time employees. I think the world is changing. And for us, we need to be in front of that curve, right? So you don't want to say like, oh, well, this is just a problem you guys have to deal with and, make your whatever weird workarounds work. We're going to solve this for you and we're going to take this off your plate. You have different needs as a guest traveler. Like you don't know travel policy. You probably don't know where you're going. You may not have met these people. And we need to treat you as a guest, not just like this problem that we're dealing with. And so I think what also is important is that this protects our client's reputation. So imagine you're a candidate and you're coming in for an interview and you have this miserable experience. You may not really want to work for that company, or you're a contractor that does, you work on movies and you're a makeup artist and you work for several different ones and one has a great system and one has a not so great system. Who are you going to, pick and choose? So it's really important to think about the reputation, and that's why it's guest travel and not this really sort of cold environment of non-profile travel.
So let's talk about the user experience. Are you able to walk us through the steps of how it's used and who does what at every step of the way?
I think that's the exciting part. So this is really, if you think about it, this is for travel bookers. This is not for the actual traveler. So think about that first, is that they now have a tool that they can go in and they can recreate this process over and over again. So you get better and better at it. It's not like, every day is a new day. We called it BCD Invite because we want to think about what an invitation is and how that works to sort of, engender joy, right? It's not a logistics nightmare. So the first thing you do is you define your event. I'm going to use the candidate sort of to take this through interviews. So maybe you want to bring 6 people in for an interview. You define your event, and we do this through these templates that are customizable, but they're all predefined. So again, you can reuse them, and you say, I want somebody to come in on, between this week, I have these 5 different people, and I want them to all come in so that they're there at 6:00, and I want them all to use this hotel because it's across the street from our facility. So you define all those rules up front. You can add different rules. So if there's someone, maybe it's VIP travelers, maybe not, you want them to be able to book on the carrier of their choice or stay at their hotel of choice. Do all that up front, get that done. And then you send your invitation. So this is now you're going to notify these people. This is when we want you to come. This is who we want you to travel with. This is what we want you to do. And you also, at this point, you get to define which booking tool you want to use. So here's where it gets interesting. Yeah, I think this is the cool part where you could say, I want you to book yourself. So you're going to book with our own tool, TripSource, or you can book with an agent because maybe you need a little bit more of that kind of care. And so you can book with our agents. So all that starts to become very defined on how you, as the booker or the client, the experience that they want to create. You associate your travelers. You can change them. You can add, let's say there's a candidate that you changed your mind on or somebody you want to add in. You can do that super easily. If it's a list of 5, you can maybe do them one at a time. Maybe you have some event or some contract. You need 100 people in. You can upload a file. That was a big ask. So we wanted to make sure that we could accommodate and be flexible in how this experience and this flow went. And then when you close the event, the profile that you created at the beginning automatically disassociates. So now that's where it's safe and secure. This traveler no longer has access to your booking tools.
Hannah, are there any situations where BCD Invite might not be for a travel program?
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about BCD is we make our platforms and our technology, we create flexible environments. And so you might already have a system, you might be involved with a different provider and it works for you, and that's great. And we're always, because we work in a digital environment, we're always looking how other people do things, what's the latest out there. And so this isn't the perfect tool for everyone. I think that it fits a really good need for the majority. Again, you can use our online booking tool. You can use the agents, which I think is really interesting as well, because some of this is really complicated. But whatever you choose to do, whatever you think makes the most sense, I think it's really important that BCD is in that field and in that consideration set, and that we're not looking at that, because we hear it over and over from clients. And also what it does is it gives us an opportunity to talk to clients and say, is this right for you? And maybe in that feedback cycle, we hear something that we were guessing at or we didn't know for sure. And now we can say, yeah, we can continue on that, because there's certain verticals where different needs are really important. So it might not be for you out of the gate, might never be for you, but I think it's important to think about it.
Is this a tool you foresee putting in the hands, you foresee travel managers putting in the hands of their recruiters, for example?
Yeah, this doesn't have to be the travel manager. This can be bookers. So let's say you're, actually, I was just in a meeting last week and it was for like 15 of us. And I had to do a lot of the arrangements because of and managing things on a spreadsheet, who comes in and out, because it was in my town. This would have been cool to use to think about, like, well, maybe we can get because some vendors came in. And so it can be for anybody, and you can have as many, administrators as you want on your side. So you have like a super administrator, and then you can assign, this is a big tool for HR. It can be for those people that book a lot of, maybe they're travel arrangers, but it's not limited to sort of the big focus on travel management.
Hannah, last question. Now that BCD Invite is launched, what's in the future?
BCD put a lot of time and effort and resource behind this. We want to make sure that we're always in that feedback loop. And so we started out with a proof of concept, which is just like, do you think this idea will work? We show it to a few people. Yeah, that might be cool. We prototype it out and we get people using it. How do we want to keep making it better? What are things there? And then we launch it. And there's all kinds of stages of launch, but for us, it's never done. And so we can look at things like, how do we integrate more with some of the big meetings tools? And, like you said, payment, how do we take reimbursement off people? So I think with all our technology, we're constantly evolving, and we want to hear from our clients what they need and what's missing.
And Hannah, I know that you and your team are already having these conversations with some of our clients and travel programs and customers, but anything you want to add before we close this segment out?
I think it's great. Like, my favorite part about my job is feedback. And I love the whole loop and the idea that we could have guestathons all day long about what we think is needed. But I think it's really important for us to go out and talk to our clients and make sure we're hearing that. So one of the reasons I'm excited about this podcast is I hope people hear that and they come back to us and they say, it'd be really cool, or have you ever thought about, and give us that frontline information. So to me, that's the point of technology, is that you can move it forward based on needs and what people are looking for. It's not one and done.
Hannah, as always, I think you are just the queen of everything at BCD, but now we want to get to know a little bit more about you in our Quick Connect segment. So when you travel for work, what do you have to have with you in your seat versus what can stay in your carry-on?
Have to have ear pods. I really like to listen to music, and then I'm kind of obsessed with Neosporin, and I get really upset if it's not in my pocket and I don't have to go grubbing around for it. And you can use it for a lot of stuff, and I usually have it on me. Otherwise, I feel uncomfortable.
I was not expecting Neosporin. For me, boring answer, I like to treat myself to a cherry Coke or a cherry flavored soda, so I always buy one in the gift shop before boarding.
For me, it's got to be Snicky Snacks. It's got to be some sort of snack, something to, again, keep my hands busy, because I'm typically nervous. So I'm either like fixing my receipts in my purse, or I'm looking for something to snack.
I do clean out my purse. This is an annoyance to many of the people that have sat next to me, because that is like a activity that I do on the plane. I clean out my purse.
100%. 100%.
Top to bottom.
All right.
If we have turbulence, my purse is the cleanest purse when we land.
All right. Next question. Cruises. Love them or leave them? What's your opinion?
I've never really been on like a big cruise. I have been on a couple, like, I think it was called an exploration. I love the water, though. I love boats. I love the water. I like the whole idea of like popping around to place. So I guess I would say it's an uninformed love 'em. I never did one, but I love them.
Okay.
I love cruising. Yeah. I mean, my answer. I think it's the most civilized thing you can do. I'm a little tired of the Caribbean, but I love a cruise ship. And mostly because, as the way I always say it, is nobody's got to cry about anything. If you want a hot dog for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, go get one. Nobody's going to argue with you. If you want soft serve ice cream all day long, just go have one. There's something for everyone to do. Nobody has to cry or complain. And you don't have to pack and repack. And every morning you wake up somewhere new. I can't think of a better experience. Hannah, thanks so much for being here. That was a really interesting session. I'm glad you could tell us about BCD Invite.
Thanks, Al. This was really fun. I'm glad I took the time to talk to you guys. It's good to step out of the cube for a minute and appreciate it.
If you're a travel buyer, frequent business traveler, or just someone who likes hearing about unprofiled travelers, be sure to download and review the Connections with BCD Travel podcast to stay up to date with new releases and listen to your favorite episodes.
Thank you for connecting with us. BCD Travel helps customers travel smart and achieve more. We make this happen in over 100 countries with a global client retention rate of 97%, the highest in the industry. Learn more about the information you heard today and what BCD Travel can do for you by visiting bcdtravel.com/podcast.